Welcome to another St. Pete by Night production. The following is rated for mature audiences and may contain graphic themes that will be distressing to some viewers. As always, we recommend you ensure the safety and well-being of yourself and those around you at all times. Viewer discretion is advised.
In the heart of night, we rise from shadows, howling at the moon, igniting our battles, cleansing Gaia of an endless fight, until our final days we will fight. Thanks, man, we stand united as one. Evil spirits lurking with horror and dread. Little light leads us where the grave can tread. Glory and honor, wisdom in our hand. Together we rise, take our final stand. Everywhere we run, the wind is at our back. All the warring forces we will track. From the depths of the ocean to the clouds in the sky, vampires tremble as we learn to fight. Rage across Tampa, in this fight we'll stay. Evil spirits lurking with horror and dread. Little light leads us where the brave dare tread. Glory and honor, wisdom in our hand. Together we rise, take our final stand. Rage across Tampa, in this fight we'll stay. Everywhere with the pack, let the night be our guide. In battles of honor, we shall never hide. We'll never hide.
Good evening and welcome to the St. Pete by Night Entertainment Network. St. Petersburg by Night is an online World of Darkness role-playing community originated in St. Petersburg, Florida, but now spreading to the world at large. My name is Kent, also known as Misha Kent on all social media, and I will be your storyteller tonight. And it's Tuesday night. You know what that means. It's time for Rage Across Tampa, our Werewolf the Apocalypse 5th edition chronicle set in the city of Tampa, Florida, where the Sept of the Evening Star attempts to combat the forces of the worm, both physical and spiritual. But before we get to all of that, I want to remind everybody about all that cool social media you see listed down below that you should go follow to stay up to date with all things St. Pete by Night and, you know, all the fun memes we post and all the cool content that you have. But speaking of content, what you should really do is go support our amazing Ko-fi by following that link down below, because for as low as $5 a month, you can become a Ko-fi member and get access to all of the behind the scenes content that we make about all of our shows, including RBTs, including All About That Face, the things you don't get to see on screen all the time, including early sneak peeks, merch discounts, just all kinds of cool stuff that we're offering over there. So go support the channel and this program and the community by going and signing up for a Ko-fi. We really, really appreciate it. But now let's get to the matter at hand by introducing the amazing players that make Rage Across Tampa possible. Players, go ahead and introduce yourselves if you please.
Hi, everybody. I'm Champ, Champagne, Irish for the kisses, whatever you want to call me, and I will be playing Aspen Wise, Violet Ox of the Silver Fangs.
Hi, everybody. I'm Nori. I will be playing Malicious Jester, the Black Fury Galliard.
Good evening, everybody. My name's Preston. I play Jason Dreams and Decay Thorn, Theurge of the Bonar.
Howdy do, how are all of you? You may not recognize me. I don't recognize myself because I am freshly peeled. My name is Nick. I am playing Izzie, aka Entwined Smiles with Claws, a Arun child of Gaia.
And the only green I'm wearing today is the green of envy for the gorgeous faces that adorn this screen, making me realize how much I haven't taken care of myself for the past 42 years. Anyway, why don't we get everybody caught up as to where we are? Last week, Isidoro had a formal reintroduction to Aspen Weiss, where he tried to make up for some of the damage that might have been done with the first impression he gave when he first arrived in Tampa. They had an interesting conversation about the past, the present, and the future, and got a little bit on the same page, I should say. I think Isidoro's showing a better version of himself to Aspen, but how that relationship continues to evolve, we will have to wait and see. We then saw Jester and Charles have a conversation after Jester came home from work to find Charles continuing to be the more held up, walls up version of Charles after all of the emotional beatings he's taken lately. Unfortunately, this caused some frustration for Jester, and the conversation didn't exactly end well, as Jester ended up storming off with leaving Charles behind, who refused to buck or bend in the stance he's been taking as far as going back to a more walled off version to protect others and himself. We then saw after the break Jace and Izzie head to Orlando with Moses to try and find any assistance they could in getting the staff broken or disenchanted, so that it could release the Bay god known as Ishu inside of the staff to allow them access to the dreaming. What they found was a magical, mystical wonderland of a library positioned within a small bookstore in Orlando that ended up being a lot larger and interdimensional on the inside than expected. They then eventually met the librarian, Michaelis, who was apparently Moses's teacher from many, many, many years ago. And Michaelis offered them a potential solution that could help deal with this staff issue. It would only cost them each a memory, in hopes of restoring Moses's memory that he had lost all those years back, so that he could undo the damage that had been done by the staff by removing the enchantment on it and destroying the staff safely without potentially destroying reality in the process. After that was done, they left with Moses to finish up their trip in Florida, which we will see, or in Orlando, which we'll see here momentarily. And then finally, in the last scene, Aspen went to meet with her mentor, Matthias Morningkill, to get a little bit of assistance, insight, to ask a favor. What she found when she arrived at Matthias's was another Silver Fang by the name of Victor Iron Oath Volkov, who came from the Sept of the North Country, seemingly having been Charles's teacher from his birth, I suppose, for better or worse, and the reason that Charles is the way he is today. However, they had a very pleasant interaction, and Iron Oath looks forward to meeting with Aspen in the future to discuss an arrangement and to learn more about what they are doing here in Florida. So, why don't we jump right in by heading back to the land of Mickey Mouse and catching up with our two guru in the after effects of the library. So, Jace and Izzie, having departed the bookstore, I should say that with air quotes, you've noticed a significant shift in demeanor of Moses ever since. As if he is, I wouldn't say distracted, but very introspective. He's not as outwardly expressive as he had been previously, especially when you first arrived in a city he didn't recognize and was very confused by all of the developments that had happened in the past 40 years. So, as we find ourselves, you are preparing to head back to Tampa. What would you like to do?
we'll wait around and just make our way as we're making our way back towards the vehicle. Jace will be rubbing his hands a little bit, walking back to where they had parked. He'll look towards Izzie, then towards Moses. Is he like looking down at the ground? Is he looking up?
He seems to be paying attention to the sidewalk directly in front of him more than anything else. His gaze is downcast, and you can see his eyes darting from side to side as if he's watching a memory in his own mind. And having had his memory restored, there's probably quite a few of them he's having to sift through in this moment.
Drop his pace back a little bit and just slightly nudge him with his elbow. So, doing all right? I know it was probably a big rush of things that just hit you.
I'm okay. There's a lot to process, a lot to understand. I remember being a student. I remember Michaelis. I remember being very eager to impress and to learn. I'm still deciphering all of it. It kind of just came in as a rush, a jumbled mess, so I'm trying to sort it out in my mind so I can figure out how best to help you. But there's something he said that worries me a little bit. Getting cut off from the weave.
Yeah. He said that has to come with a price for the actions that were taken. Sorry, man.
No, I get all that, and I understand, and it's probably for the best, but what am I without that? Who am I?
As a point of order, I assume when Preston, you said Jason sort of falls back, it's not far enough for Izzie not to hear, right? You're not trying to be hush-hush. Yeah.
No.
Sort of leading the charge along the sidewalk, he'll cast his head back to the pair and out of the corner of his eye go, "Hey man, being a neighbor seems like a very dangerous line of work, and if you're nothing without your naming powers, I'm sorry to say you probably don't deserve them, right? Not to be too harsh, because the namers I've had to run into were considerably less stable and more cruel than you. So if it's any consolation, I think if anyone deserved to bend the weave as you do, I'm glad you're at least considering making the decision. Because I get the feeling a lot of humans in your place would be looking to keep their connection, right?
I spent a majority of the life that I remember dedicated to study and learning and harnessing these abilities. It would be like if you woke up tomorrow no longer what you are. You have all this knowledge of what it is. You have all this awareness of what the world is really like around you. And you can't do anything about it anymore. You are just another piece of the puzzle, another pawn on the board, when before you were the player of the game.
Your role changes. That's it. You're still you. The knowledge that you have, you can still implement that within life. Everything that you are aware of, everything going on, that is you. Everything that's happened is you. Just because you have this power, that does not define who you are. Just like Izzie said, your name being what you do doesn't make you the man that you are.
Jason is right. He brings up a good fact. Even us, who we are, as you say. I can't speak for Jason, but I can speak for myself. If I fell to Hirano, where I lost my connection to Gaia, if I continue to know what I know now, I'd be looking for other ways to help.
What's Hirano?
Right. If I lost the will to fight, we'll put it that way.
I think it goes without saying that knowledge is power, but knowledge is also a liability. And before, I knew how to defend myself and the knowledge that I kept. I knew how to stay safe. Now, all that knowledge is a liability. And if anyone with any kind of influence finds out the things that I know, they'll want to see me gone. And aside from that, I don't even know what's going to happen when I get cut off. Am I going to go back to being a insane, doddering fool wandering the streets, trying to find where my next meal is coming from? Or maybe not even aware of or caring? Or am I going to become a vegetable? Because a lot of the will of the weave comes from the mind. What does that mean?
These are hard things to answer. And bridges that we'll have to cross when they come up. But I can tell you that you won't be doing this alone. I found you once. I'll find you again if you go wandering as a buffoon once again. I'll bring you back. And you don't have to worry about going back to a place that you were at. And as far as people of influence, fortunately, you know a few of the people who have some influence. If you are wanting somewhere to be safe, I have a few connections. I'm making people disappear. If you want to be gone, if you don't want people to be able to find you, you can make that happen. Now, with that would cut off everything. Anything that you knew, all that would be gone, even the connection to me. You would be removed. But if that's something you want for your safety, I can push for it.
Jace, there's only been one constant throughout all of this that I can remember clearly, and that constant is you. You've been a lighthouse in a very cloudy and foggy storm, and with these memories returned, with my mind strengthened once more, I can see how much effort you've had to put into taking care of me, watching out for me. You're young and full of possibilities and opportunities. You shouldn't have to look after me. You shouldn't have to make me a priority, considering I know all the other things out there that you're facing and dealing with.
You're right. But as you said, you do know me, and I don't have liability. I get to pick who I get to put my time and effort into. And I have chosen you. Or I more stumbled upon you that day when you're picking up trash. So, unfortunately, we're stuck with each other here, bud.
I wish I could say that you stumbled upon me, but I was there, I suppose, in a way. I don't know. I think there are more threats than you're even considering. And there are threats on my side of things that are especially perilous, and I'm not sure I want to bring that kind of danger upon you, especially once it gets out.
look towards Izzie for a second. It's why we have guys like him for those big, scary, dangerous things. Not my forte. I handle others, but
Here's the thing, Jason. I'm going to need you if we're going to be taking on namers like I think he's referring to.
There was
we'll see.
this event I remember learning about. It's coming back to me now, but I remember learning about it in the late 90s. There was a bit of a to-do in the Middle East. It was when the red star could be seen from the sky, and there was a group from my side of the fence known as the Technocracy. I have no doubt they probably are still out there, but imagine if strong harnessers of the weave put that power into technology. If they took control of nuclear weapons or satellites or, well, needless to say, they aren't exactly fond of practitioners like myself or like Michaelis. They believe that it is an outdated philosophy. It is an outdated method of harnessing the weave, and that we must conform and embrace the future. The problem is, the kind of power the weave harnesses is timeless. Doesn't understand evolution or growth or development. It just is. And I fear what they have done or intend to do with that kind of power. And if they brought that kind of power here, if they haven't already, what that would mean for you and what you're trying to do.
I don't know anything about this technocracy, but Jason. I don't know if Charles mentioned he was one of the people who helped kill the namer I came across one time. I want to say it was Carson City? It was Nevada. Piercing Moonrise Pack a number of years ago. I think it was still within our first year of being founded. And one of the cairns out in the Sierra Nevadas was having issues with this. He instinctively holds back, but realizes that Moses is sort of already in the circle and goes, it was having issues with a lot of the spiritual energies, as I'm sure you can appreciate, being sapped by namers, specifically a namer. But it wasn't just like Moses or even Michaelis. They had like a force field around them. It was like blocks wide. Wherever they went, they did two things. One, anything related to the Umbra was sapped clean. Just. Two, any attempts at things appearing out of the ordinary were muted. Just grayed out. No violence, but no color either. It was like one of the film noir detective-y things. And it just moved with them. And you would walk in, you or me, we would not be Garu. We could not shift. We were just, I don't know, disjointed from the spiritual end. And Charles managed to we couldn't. It was, and at this he's struggling to even create the words for the sort of power that a namer of that caliber had. We couldn't shoot them or punch them. It was like every attempt at action was gone. Just didn't happen. The impulse wasn't there, or it never initiated to begin with, and it was, coming from the Arun, terrifying. So if Moses here is saying there's a bunch of techno namers who apparently are in the vicinity of trying to mute us out, if it's anything like what I saw in Nevada, we're gonna have some issues.
That's just a taste of what they're capable of. Bending reality, using technology as a source of magic. I think I think we all know about the witch hunters, they pale in comparison to what the technocracy is supposedly capable of. There's a certain responsibility that comes with what we are, what we do, and I realize that's very hypocritical coming from me. But I was young and I was ambitious and I was foolhardy, to be completely honest. But they don't have the same kind of qualms about responsibility. They believe in a certain element of control. They believe in continuing to explore and harness what these things are capable of. And a lot of what they do flies in the face of paradox. This is why I'm concerned. I wasn't anyone necessarily noteworthy in their eyes. But if they learn anything about what I've done, if they can catch wind of what this rite was capable of, they will take me and they will want to learn it. Because the ability to trap and harness a powerful being such as Ishu just on a whim opens a wide door of possibilities for them.
All right, Moses, where are you trying to get at?
I'm just trying to be realistic. I don't know what's coming, and that bothers me.
It's fair. I also don't like being in the unknown. Now, with this additional knowledge that we've acquired, do additional digging into these guys. But you sure?
No. For whatever you think you're going to find out about them, they are going to find out more about you. That is not a box you want to open. I know that you have abilities I am just barely scratching the surface of understanding. But whatever pride or belief you have, if you dabble in technology at all when looking into the technocracy, they will know. And I don't know how you'd find them otherwise. And that's probably on purpose. If you thought Anonymous or QAnon or any of those were powerful or strange, you have no idea.
I'll leave the box untouched for now. I it's gonna be a itch that's back there, but I'll for your sake, I'll leave it untouched.
Hey, Jason, look at it this way. If it's as bad as we all think it is, that means when we stop the apocalypse, it's not going to be a big deal, right?
Right, yeah.
They're probably already aware of you. They just don't view you as a problem. At least not yet. And I hesitate because I don't want to make them a problem for you. I don't want to be the reason they become your problem. You've done so much for me in times when I was lost and confused and, well, suffering the repercussions of my own actions. You gave me kindness, and I don't know if there's a lot I can do to repay this kindness. I obviously feel obligated to unmake the staff, but I think the only thing I can do other than that is put some distance between me and all of you, so that if they do come looking, at least it won't be near you.
Izzie will look to Jason, and for the first time since exiting the antique store bookshop, give a very serious look, the smile along the edges of his face cracking a bit as he has a notable focus, as if to ask Jason, I want to find something out. Do you give me permission to?
For a moment, he'll meet his gaze and then give him a slight head nod.
The smile returns with a bit more flush as he goes, all right, Moses. We've had a bit of a walk. You seem to have recalled some things. So my question to you, on behalf of, well, I can't say on behalf of Jason, but on behalf of my concern for Jason, I ask you, why did you pursue all this naming magic stuff to begin with? And two, when push comes to shove, are you willing to die for what it is you're trying to accomplish now?
Well, to the first question, I wanted to better understand what was happening. Much like I'm sure it is for you, a certain pivotal event happens that causes awareness. And it was like the opening of Pandora's box. I was always a studious kid, good in school, great grades, very academic focused. I was probably going to end up being a teacher or a professor or maybe an engineer of some kind. But when you see just how much bigger the world truly is, you want to learn everything you can. One, to protect, another to explore, And I'm not going to deny the temptation of exploitation was there, as I'm sure it has been for you, when you become more powerful, more in touch with certain abilities. But again, I was young, was ambitious. I was not looking for power for myself, but a better understanding of what really was out there, because you get glimpses, you receive knowledge passed down, but it's always partial. And one of the unexplored reaches was what they call the dreaming. And I was looking for someone to guide me through learning about it, guide us through learning about it. Of course, that was a lot harder than I imagined it would be.
Izzie will look to Jason with a somewhat apologetic stare of like, apologies, if that came on too harshly, but with a nod of like, I hope that helps better illuminate who Moses was and I guess is now in this moment.
As for dying, in a way I already have a few times by now. By the creation of the staff and the loss of my initial identity to the removal of the staff and this cloud, this haze I've been living in up until this day. Death doesn't scare me. Being the reason others die does.
I think that resonates pretty well with us.
Yep.
I'll need time to think and put all this back together. I haven't even gotten to the part where I make the staff or what I learned to be able to do it. But at the rate it's all coming back to me, I don't think it'll be too long.
Well, if you need literally anything, you just got to reach out. Once we get back into town, you get settled back in. If you need time, I'll give you that. Not a lot, but I can give you some. But if you're needing materials or additional, I don't know, do you tomes? I don't know if those would help. I don't even know how to get those, but I can look into it.
No, I think I have everything I need. I just need to recover it. It's primarily, when he taps his own head, it's up there. It's behind walls and walls of static and noise.
Unfiled.
Yes. But it's there. I just need to remember how I did it. And then I think I can figure out how to reverse the process.
Well, for what it's worth, I appreciate you going through it. I know that there's a big cost for you to be able to do it.
If this was my life's work, as it seems to be, considering how much older I am now, and being cut off from the weave means that the end is a lot closer than I'd like. I should see it all the way through. For what it's worth, I'm sorry that this was thrust upon you, that this whole mess had to come knocking on your door. I can't say I wouldn't have done anything differently, even if I did know what was going to happen. Because again, ambitious, young, foolish. But I am sorry.
You don't need to apologize. I've had some time with the guide, and there's a lot of paths that are laid before each person. And the way he explains it is he's seen the path walked multiple times. But this path itself, this one's different. Like, it was everything that has led up to this is going according to how the path is to be. So you don't need to apologize. And I'm happy that you did, because if you didn't do any of that, I wouldn't have been able to meet you. And if I didn't meet you, then I wouldn't be able to have all these other fun adventures about how I came to Orlando and I talked to the actual city, Orlando, and then got thrown into an ever extending library that I now have conditioning, and he'll reach out and grab the shoulder. Izzie, this guy that now I have to go and do runs with, which I'm super thrilled about.
Honestly, that's the greatest punishment for Jason right now. If there is a sin to
Yippee.
bear, it's to know that his cardio is yours.
I sit down and I do things, all right? I don't need the running aspect of it. It's not my job.
Until you need to chase your best friend through a library, at which point...
Okay, well, yeah, but if he would have slowed down, that would have been helpful too.
Oh, okay. Next time we're chasing someone, hey, Jason needs 5. Can we take a pause, please?
I don't think that's too much to ask.
Oh.
At this point, Moses stops and grabs your arm, Jace, and turns you to face him, placing his hands upon your shoulders. I appreciate the sentiment, but we didn't meet. Maybe you met this body, but we're just meeting now. You're just meeting who I truly am now. And whatever you think I have been to you, and I hope it's always been good, it was always influenced by something else. And I'm glad to be meeting you clear-headed now. Well, for the most part, still a lot happening up there, but I'm just glad he was good to you and helpful to you. And I'm sure frustrating at times to you as well. But that wasn't me. That was whatever he was in me. I think of you fondly because when I was lost, you were the only thing that cared. The only thing trying to help. But this is, for all intents and purposes, this is really our first conversation with me as a whole person.
Well, he'll take his hands off his shoulders. He'll stretch his hand out. Hi, I'm Jason Thorne. I'm from Columbus, Ohio, and you are my nearest and dearest, closest friend that I met in Tampa. We're now meeting in Orlando. It's nice to meet you.
He chuckles and reaches out and shakes your hand. It's nice to meet you too. And I hope no matter what happens, you can still have that same feeling and appreciation after after whatever happens with this staff.
I'm sure. And I do think parts of you came out because the sandwich order: pastrami, ham, salami, 3.5 onions. God forbid someone put 4.5 rings on there, or even 4. Lettuce, tomato, and no mayo, but honey mustard.
One day I'll have to teach you about the importance of numbers in the grand scheme of it all.
I'm sure 3.5 really is. I didn't ever try it. I just put the onions on, but God forbid there was 4 on there.
The distance between 3 and 4 is infinitesimal when you know what you're looking at.
We can get into that later and what all that means. I was more just talking about food. We don't need to go into math. We have Izzie here, and I think it just goes over his head, and that's just not fair to him.
You're right, Jason. I just don't know anything. Anything Jason asks further as a question is really just me. He's being very considerate of me and my needs.
Correct.
Of course. You don't mind, I think I'm going to be quiet for a little bit while I'm still sourcing these pieces and putting them together, but I do want you to know I'm glad you did this. For whatever, again, that's worth. I'm grateful, so thank you for bringing me here. Thank you for making me whole again. Thank you for allowing me this opportunity to fix my mistake. And as much as there is a great deal screaming in me to run from this, run from the idea of being cut off, I think the one thing I don't want to run from is this friendship, how much it's meant to me, and making things right.
Well, you're welcome.
He gives a soft smile and nods his head and then begins walking again along the sidewalk, this time falling into silence as he retraces your path back to the vehicle. Climbs into the back seat of the car, leaving the two of you outside, giving you a moment to talk before you get back on the road again.
How you doing? That was a lot.
Yeah. It was definitely both what I expected and also nothing what I expected. Obviously, you heard my previous name or experience, so that was more pleasant? I don't know if that's the right word. Less threatening.
Yeah, I'm glad things didn't get tooth and claw.
Yeah.
I think we got a reasonable outcome out of this. I do have my concerns as far as the technocracy bit that he's brought up.
When they pop their head, we'll be ready as Garu always are.
Yeah. Do want to say thanks though for coming out here and doing this.
Well, I don't know what to do with this thanks. Should I cash it in, perhaps, for you paying for the extended parking ticket, or?
I don't know how much money you think I have, but
More than
sure. Yes, I will take care of the gas, the rental vehicle, the parking ticket, the food. Yeah, sure. I got it.
And I will be your ever patient, ever cautious chauffeur. I have to assume getting out of Orlando is much easier than getting into it, right?
I don't know. I think a lot of people are trying to get out just as bad as they're trying to get in. So,
well, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, fucking smart ass. Kind of like punch him in the shoulder a little bit before making his way over to the passenger seat.
Oh boy. Careful, I'm gonna return that punch a bit harder.
I'll shoot you.
Not the first time.
The ride back to Tampa is a lot of quiet contemplation and remembering, whether it's reliving the last few hours or whether it's reliving a lifetime long forgotten about or stolen from. But as you drive, what are you thinking and feeling about everything you've learned, this whole experience, encountering mages for the first time truly, hearing that the threats are so much more complicated and vast than they've ever been before? What you thought of as intangible, like things like Fae and Balor and the influence they have, now extends to techno wizards and reality bending and shaping. Jace, we'll start with you and then we'll go to Izzie.
While sitting there, he's quiet as trying to navigate out of the city. The world itself just gets bigger and bigger, and there's so much more into it than he realizes. And the aspect that Moses giving him a heads up is huge, but he has a concern that Moses is scared about if he is to make it through this process, about these guys coming after him and using that knowledge to possibly entrap Ishu again or any other being like him. And he's not sure how he can help combat such a force. But with everything that Jace has come through, he just tries to roll with the punches as they come up. Worrying about the bridges that aren't always connected up ahead is just going to cause more issues. So he shakes it off and just kind of looks out to the overall landscape of Orlando, trying to find his peace again.
And Izzie.
As Izzie slides into the driver's seat and everyone else gets comfortable in the car, he'll pull his way out of the parking lot and maybe set the directions on Jason's phone or what have you as he begins merging on to a local freeway on-ramp. And as the road and traffic no doubt begin to form in front of him, the default expression of mirth on Izzie's face does little to hide the constant processing going on behind his eyes. He doesn't have the history with Moses, he only has his previous relationship with Jason. And a lot of what he just did, he feels like he would never do if not for the fact that a fellow Garu asked for his assistance and needed his aid in the moment. He was completely uncertain exactly what Moses would be like after getting his memories restored. That was one of his great fears of what if he's just like all the other namers he's heard of. Ambitious, callous, unhinged. But seeing him with the way he answered, seeing how Jason seemed to connect with him, that fear has been put aside for the much stronger one, almost as if a small sedan being replaced by a 18-wheeler in front of technocracy, if the word can even be spoken by Izzie without sounding stilted. And his own experience with that namer as part of the Piercing Moonrise Pack. He doesn't know if they're the same, or even if they're just half related. But if they're even a fraction of as powerful, there is no way in hell in Izzie's mind that they were going to win. But he is an Arun, and just because there's no path to victory doesn't mean you're going to need to claw one out.
As you're driving, getting on I-4, the Mad Max freeway of Florida, an interesting thought comes to you, or you recognize something very peculiar. It's the clock on the dashboard. And what's most peculiar about this, you were only in that building for about 60 seconds. In all the running and conversation, in the in and out, time was very strange. And now this isn't too unusual for you. You've been in the Umbra and you know time works differently there. But something about how this happened is a little bit unnerving, a little bit off-putting, because you weren't in the Umbra, at least as far as you know. These wizards, mages, namers, whatever you want to call them, they have a control and a grasp over things that aren't meant to be grasped or controlled. It's almost unnatural in the way that they can affect seemingly anything. You think of the Umbra as natural, as real, as grounded in Gaia, as a part of it all, as a reflection of this world. What do they view it as? Do they view it as clay to be shaped and molded? Do they view it as something broken, meant to be fixed? Speaking of broken things, let's move on to our next scene. Aspen and Jester. We find ourselves at Aspen and Artie's apartment, townhouse, whatever you want to call it, in their new neighborhood. Everything has finally been unpacked. Everything has found its place. There is much more space to be had in this apartment instead of the almost studio-esque apartment Artie had originally lived in. All that work as a lawyer has definitely paid off and allowed for certain comforts and a better lifestyle, needless to say. But even with that extra space, even with the opportunity for Artie to have an office if he wanted to put all his computer stuff in a different room, some things are a little bit harder to change than others. And so the sprawling desk with the monitors and the paperwork is all almost exactly where it was in the first place, in the living room. The extra room still has no use. Maybe it'll be a guest room at some point, but he was pretty much unwilling to change that part. It was so uncomfortable and unnerving to think of being cut off from the front door and from the living area of the home, that Aspen, you did make a compromise and allow him to set up his entire array. Thankfully, the living room's big enough that it doesn't take up a majority of the space anymore. There are certain pillars in time, certain checkpoints in your existence since you've arrived in Tampa. And one of those checkpoints has become girl time. A time when Aspen and Jester check in, plan, vent. And it just happens to be that time again. So you are both in the living room. You already have your water or coffee or soda or whatever it is. Artie has left the house, giving you space, as he knows when these moments come, it's a moment for privacy and no interference. And so as you sit, two friends together, the scene is yours.
Aspen will be sat on the couch, legs crossed, with her mug in her hand. There's very few people she really just unmasks with and gets rid of the professional air, and that was Aiden. That's already in now. That's Jester. So she's just kind of comfy, mug in hand, blanket on the lap, just sitting.
Jester has come in something pretty like comfortable, like shorts, like raggedy t-shirt kind of thing, and just kind of flops on the couch, mug in hand as well, just like, hey.
Hey.
Aspen, give me a wits and insight check really quick.
Is this about Jester?
Yes.
Could I do intelligence and insight?
Yes.
Four.
You have seen Jester in a lot of situations, carrying a lot of different burdens throughout your time of knowing each other. There was her friends being imprisoned early on in your relationship. Today, she's carrying a different kind of weight. You could tell that her life for the past couple of days has been dramatically altered. Something changed several months ago, and she's been a little bit more of a pep in her step, a little bit more lively, a little bit more indulgent. But something must have happened recently to change all of that, because she seems off. And you've spent a lot of time with her, but this is noticeably off in a different way than it has been. It's not the burdens of the war on Gaia that are wearing her down. Those are just kind of constant. But there's something about her posture, even about her look, that feels off.
Aspen, with the hay that Jester gives her, watching the smile fall much quicker than usual, will lean forward, share the blanket. What's wrong?
Before we get to that, Jester, I'd like you to also roll an insight check. Because what can be escaped in words can't necessarily be escaped in body language.
I got 3 successes.
Aspen does a really good job of putting on a very professional face when it's called for. But you've also seen her struggle. You've seen her mask. You've seen her in denial or hiding from certain truths, certain processes that she needs to go through. Rather than this being drastically different, this is annoyingly familiar. Something happened to Aspen and she is not dealing with it. Very much reminiscent of the time that Artie had to leave. Anyway, continue.
I'll slide under the blanket. You tell if I tell?
That easy to tell?
I know you.
Damn it.
Why are men, especially the men in our pack, or and our sept, honestly, except for maybe Artie and Larry, they're fine, and Terrance, but he just showed up, so I don't know. But the rest of them, why?
I ask myself that at least once a day, interacting with them. And now we have a new one. So, thought I'd get a little bit of a reprieve at some point, but nope, they're all... Is it just like you give men more rage and they become more problematic.
And unwilling to talk about what's bothering them, or so you've noticed the thing between Jace and Charles, right? Like,
Something's been off.
Jace is upset at Charles for what happened. He feels that since Charles claimed that he'd never frenzied before and was always in control, he would continue to be that way.
That's dumb.
Charles went and apologized to him, but it wasn't enough. I don't know the full thing of that conversation. And now Charles thinks he should pull away from the Sept because he just upsets people with everything going on between Jace and Izzie, and he's not good for the Sept anymore.
Why is that a problem now? He's always upset people.
Because he was getting close to Jace. And he doesn't understand that sometimes people have other things they have to work through before, like, you can... He's hurt. He's hurt and he's scared.
So Jace is upset because he thought something that Charles said could be held as like a promise when that's not the way we work and could never be promised by any guru ever. And Charles is upset because his closest friend, I guess now, is upset with him and he now wants to pull away from everyone.
Yeah. And with Izzie coming back, I think there's a lot of things he realizes he hurt Izzie pretty deeply and thinks that he can't be close to anybody and shouldn't, or most people. He says the things between us wouldn't change, but
That's
okay.
like saying, oh, I don't want to be friends with your friends, but that won't change our relationship at all.
Yeah. It doesn't really help that I was the reason he lost control. At least to me.
I think Charles has an issue with connecting the logic part of himself with the heart part of himself. He thinks that logic is the only way to go about these things when you have to actually feel your way through it. And I don't think he likes feelings sometimes.
He spent so long burying feelings, trying not to feel, that he doesn't understand how to deal with them. He's much like a child when dealing with that part.
It's like a muscle that hasn't been exercised. I mean, I can't completely give him much problems. I'm not the greatest at it either, but he did, well, chloroform me, put me in the back of the car, and kidnapped me and put me in an empty room to tell me that I had to deal with those feelings. So, practice what you preach, I guess.
I did yell at him. I told him to be a man, pull up his big boy pants, and go to therapy, kind of. I'd said the same to Jace in a nicer way. I kind of exploded on Charles. Probably shouldn't have. Now it's kind of awkward.
It's a lot to deal with that when there seemed to be moving forward in that regard. But how are you feeling?
Not great. I'm not coping well with what happened to me. And I don't know how to explain it other than that.
At Piney Point.
Yeah. I'll sigh and pull out my phone and open a folder with a bunch of videos. There's about, hand it over to you. There's like 10 to 15 like short videos. They don't last long, more than like maybe 1 to 2 minutes. And they're all of trying to get through the story of Piney Point. And she'll stumble, and then the last few you could see like she is going into panic attacks before she turns the camera off.
Aspen will stare at
Jester,
them.
even as you are trying to reveal it, you can't help but remember that feeling of something inside of you erupting outwards. Little sharp stabs of pain as these stalks and roots and flowers just pop through all the muscle and flesh and skin that houses the bones that make up our structure. They would just effortlessly find their way out and grow. And you remember the choking, the burning in your throat, the helplessness. Very rarely in Jester's life has she been helpless, except when she was young. But this is a different kind of helplessness. This isn't about abuse or neglect. This is about something else, something much more unnatural, unusual, uncontrollable. Sorry, Aspen, go ahead.
Aspen will just watch all of the videos. When she gets to the last one, she'll kind of stare at it, trying to figure out what to say, but just looks up.
During that, Jester will have kind of curled up tighter in the blanket and kind of has her forehead pressed against her knees. And is just breathing slowly in and out.
Aspen will pet Jester's hair. It was really scary.
Yeah, it was terrifying. I could say that. I could say it was painful, but I can't. When I start to think or remember, I just freeze up.
Why?
It's not like anything I've ever experienced.
I'd like to say something like that is unlikely to happen again. That was a weird, different experience that we went through at Piney Point. I can't promise that something strange like that won't come up, but I don't think that that person is taken care of.
I know, and honestly, I should start probably talking to Artie about it and seeing if he can help me work through it, since he knows things now.
Yeah, all those tools in his toolbox, as he likes to say.
Yeah.
Jester, you say those words, as if it's a solution, as if it's something that's going to be fixed. But then as you think about it more and more, that kind of power came from somewhere. It came from the land of Fae. It came from the dreaming. And while that particular satyr was problematic and bad, they were a representation of something, of a cult. So while that one individual may have been dealt with, how many more are there? And where are you most likely to run into them? With a certain upcoming trip on the horizon that Jace and Izzie are currently taking further steps in accomplishing.
Take a long, deep breath. What about you?
We're not past that. Can't just say, I don't feel great about this. How are you? That we talk
I thought
about
this was
things.
venting. I don't know how to talk about it more. I don't know how to explain it.
What could help you?
I don't know. There's I don't know what can help.
Well, if you'd like, we can figure it out together. I know Artie's much better at this than I am, but where those fears come from, they've got to come from somewhere. Of course, it was already scary, but for it to affect you this much, we've been in scary situations before.
I'll take several moments, still breathing, but like trying to put something together that I could explain it. I'm used to fighting, getting my ass kicked a lot. It's kind of a regular thing in my life. That I can understand. But this, I couldn't do anything.
Felt helpless.
Yeah.
I get that.
Aspen, at the mention of helplessness, you can't help but think about your most recent event of feeling helpless, watching massive wolves dragging a poor young man, your charge, away as you could do nothing but speed off for your own safety and the safety of Artie and Regina. What could you have done? What would you have done that wouldn't have just ended in you joining them and whatever fate befell them? But they were your responsibility as a kinseeker. You don't even know how it ended. Not for sure. But it didn't look good.
I get it. I get feeling helpless in situations and not knowing what to do or not having the ability to do anything. Did I tell you that there was, pretty sure I did, a guru that I was, potential guru that I was looking into watching?
Yeah, you mentioned it. You mentioned at the meeting that, well, something happened, obviously.
I went to go talk to him, find things out about him, have some conversation, but Kyle and Victoria showed up. We were playing pool. I managed to get him away from them, but as we were walking the streets, they had more in tow. They all showed up, ready for a fight that we weren't prepared for. And I tried to just, get back to Regina, to Artie. They took him and worst case scenario, but they look like they ripped him apart.
I'll just lean over and hug Aspen. I could say 1,000 words about how terrible that whole situation is, and of course, I kind of want to get up right now and go kill them, but
Me too. It's part of the problem, is not being able to rectify it or even find out what happened because there's so much going on.
I'm sorry. That seems like a really difficult thing.
I'm sorry too. Yours isn't any easier.
Yeah. It sucks feeling helpless. Eliza tries to tell me a lot of you can't save everyone. But when you're in the moment of staring it down and realizing you can't, it's when the emotions overcome the logic.
It's kind of like, yeah, of course we can't save everyone, but if we're put in the position to do so, why not?
Right. And then when we literally can't, it just fucking sucks.
Yeah. We're a mess.
Yeah. I think we're an entire sept that's a mess, just trying to figure out. Maybe all of Garu are a mess, considering what everybody goes through.
That's true. But at least we talk about it. She'll look over with like a half smirk.
Yes, at least we talk about it. Now.
What do you want to do about the Charles situation?
I should go talk to him. Sit down and talk to him.
Like soon, or do you want to let him wallow?
I mean, I'm gonna probably let him wallow for the night. I'm not leaving our girl time to go talk immediately, but Probably soonish.
That's
He's
fair.
kind of going through enough emotional torture with Jace and Izzie being mad at him, and yeah.
Yeah, to their credit, he kind of has been a huge pain in the ass lately.
Our entire apartment is just sparkling, though. I hate it.
Well, that's so unfortunate. I'm so sorry for you.
It feels like a museum and not a place to live.
That's fair. Does it seem like he's reverting because of everything?
Yeah.
Going
That's
to a
what it feels
place
like.
that feels familiar?
Absolutely. He's withdrawing. He, like I said, he swears like it's not going to affect us, but I don't think he understands it already is.
Yeah. I think we can give him more credit. He'll get his shit together, I think.
I think so. I have faith in him.
Also, speaking of men being so irritating, I went to go see Matthias the other
Uh-huh.
day. He was being so weird.
Really?
Yeah, usually I walk in there and, I usually ask for something, let's be real. But I talked to him about my issues, and
Mm-hmm.
it's just nice to have an ear of somebody who kind of gets the whole of it all. And he was just, I don't know, jovial and slightly not dismissive. I don't really know what to call it. He was just off. It was strange.
It's weird. Do you know if he's dealing with anything or like what he's been working on? Like anything really stressful to him or?
I mean, I'm sure doing things to kind of help the new nation is difficult and causing problems. But I don't know. It just seems much more weird than he usually is. And I'm trying not to pry too much because it doesn't seem like he wants to talk. But I'm hoping, because I asked him to be around the cairn more, maybe being around the group more, he'll open up, or at least try to.
That'd be good. Yeah, I mean, we could use a few older, wiser Garu around a little more and as we're feeling these things out.
It's a great change. We've had the Hellhounds around for so long.
Right?
Having some older perspective would be good. And Aspen pauses just for a moment, like coming to a realization, talking about Matthias and elders and older guru, and just pauses and looks down.
What's wrong?
She grabs both of Jester's hands, both of them. You have to promise you're not going to freak out.
Okay.
You promise?
I promise I will try not to freak out. I will hold every bit of self-control I have not to freak out.
Okay. I'll take it. While I was going to talk to Matthias, he had a visitor.
Oh. He has a lot of visitors lately that we don't know about until like you show up and they're there or something like.
It's either great timing or terrible timing. But it's something. What's the bad version of serendipitous? It doesn't matter. It's fine. I met a Silver Fang by the name of Victor Volkov. Iron Oath.
Okay.
He wanted to speak with me in about an arrangement or a meeting to discuss some things, and from talking to Matthias, I was made aware that he is in Charles's history. He was Charles's mentor, trainer.
I will blink a few times as I am processing this information.
I squeeze her hands just a little bit tighter.
But you
Jester,
don't know.
give me a
Go ahead.
composure and resolve check, but you have an additional die because of Aspen's assistance, keeping you grounded, squeezing your hands, trying to keep you in this moment, not letting your mind wander too hard.
Oh, what is my rage at?
1.
Okay.
That might change depending on the roll, but
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna spend a willpower. I got 2 successes.
Charles has always been rather secretive about his life, but there have been bits of information that have slipped through the cracks, and the closer you've gotten, the more your relationship has become serious and bonded together. A little bit more has started to seep its way to the surface, willingly rather than unwillingly. But there's also still a lot of assumptions to be made based off of what you've learned. He had his first kill at the age of 9. He was taught how to fight from the day he learned how to walk. He didn't grow up with parents, well, not in the traditional sense. They existed, but they were quickly compartmentalized so that he could focus all of his efforts on being the heir. He was beaten a lot. But it made him stronger. It made him tougher physically. But it also explains a lot of what happened to him emotionally and that childlike state he seems to be in when it comes to emotions, having never had the process of forming adult emotions. As she mentions that he was Charles's teacher, all of the responsibility for that, which was once cast upon King Albrecht and the entire Silverfang tribe and the whole sept of the North Country, becomes almost like a pinpoint focus. It takes a village to raise an individual, but an important person in that village is often the teacher, the mentor, the one who helps shape you into what you are. Now that person has a name. And worse than that, that person's in town. You will gain a rage. You will not lose control. But you are most certainly not pleased with this development.
As you're squeezing my hands, I will take a long, shuddering breath, but okay. And you don't know what he wants other than some sort of proposal.
I'm not sure. I'm supposed to have a meeting with him at some point when I can find time. I debated and saying anything, but I definitely wasn't going to tell Charles right away. It sounds like he's going through some things, or seems like he's going through some things, so I don't know how he's going to be affected by it.
Oh. I'll keep a check on how he's feeling and things, and then see if I can find a right time to tell him that it doesn't just be one thing on top of everything else.
Right. And with me and all of this, I can't say no to a meeting. But I do know that, based off the tiniest bit that I know about Charles's past, it could be problematic. And I just want you to know that I don't condone what he's been through, being raised as a soldier.
Thanks for that. Really is just one thing on top of another.
Yeah. Yep.
Kind of had a few weeks, didn't we?
Oh, it was so nice.
I mean, aside from, of course, the hellhounds.
I think they'll just perpetually be a pain in the butt, but they do good as well.
Yeah. They're our mess.
True. So, what do you say we divide and conquer with these boys?
Yeah. Sounds good. I
You know,
don't
this-
know. I think we'll probably have to team up on Izzie. He's new and we don't know him that well yet, but
True. And not to sound like I'm bragging, but I thank Gaia more and more every day for Artie.
he really is a gem. One of a kind,
He's the best of them.
right?
You enjoy each other's company for a good majority of the afternoon. Just being. Conversation drifts to other things like Aspen's work in the law firm. Jester maybe talking more about the Howlers and the biker gang and how all that's going. Just being as normal can be. Does it mean that the issues you have been addressed? Far from it. But at least they've been said. And that's an improvement compared to past times. Such things would normally be buried deep, deep down. But as you've grown into being Guru more and more, you've learned that burial, that's what causes Hoglosk. That's what causes Hirano. It's not any kind of supernatural or external force that makes that happen. It's carrying the weight of trying to protect a slowly dying world, the weight of having to constantly face challenges that no one else could possibly comprehend, and even those that they can't. And the weight of trying not to be a burden to everyone else that has burdens of their own. The power of saying it, putting it out there, expressing it, not burying it down. It's like the release valve on a steam pipe. Choosing to release some of that pressure. Maybe that makes all the difference. Maybe the things that previously would go unsaid need to be said. Maybe, just maybe, it staves off that inevitable collapse that all Guru are faced with whether it's death, depression, or just outright fury. Eventually, as it gets closer to late afternoon, early evening, you both have business to attend to, of course, and decide to part ways. And Aspen, as you walk Jester to the door, opening the door to the outside, what you're greeted with is possibly one of the most surprising and unnerving sights possible. Because there is a luxury sedan parked in front. That's not the weird part. The weird part is the man in a suit wearing a fisherman's vest over the suit and one of those big tan hats, holding two fishing poles and looking towards Jester and you standing in the doorway. Noticing that you see as well, Aspen, his gaze casts downwards for a moment, like this wasn't for you. You shouldn't see this. But then he relents and sighs, and his shoulders drop a little bit, that restrained, rigid posture softening for a moment. As Charles says, "Do you mind if I borrow her?"
I'll look over at Jester. Well, maybe he still's learned a couple of things. Don't let him off too easy. And she'll look over at Charles, just nod, and smile at Jester.
Oh, I am trying very hard not to bust out laughing, looking at him, and just be like, yeah, not off easy. Right, got it.
We transition now to the final scene of the first half of tonight's story. Jester. Charles has an adventure he wants to take you on. That adventure is a first for him. Fishing. So you take a drive out to a remote area of Hillsborough River. Not the cairn. The cairn is business. The cairn is responsibility. He actually makes the concerted effort to take you somewhere away. And he does so under the guise or purpose of trying to be human, trying to have one of those supposedly formative experiences that he missed. So finally you arrive, parking in a small gravel parking lot, making a walk out to the river where you're just surrounded by trees and nature. He carries a brand new tackle box along with these brand new rods, everything looking like it may have been purchased that day, maybe the day before. You can even see price tags still hanging off of some of it. He passes you a rod and you both set to fishing, you definitely having to instruct him on how the fishing rod even works. But he's a quick study, and before you know it, he's casting the perfect cast out into the river. After a few silent moments, he says, still looking out at the water, "I don't want to make the same mistake I made with Isidoro and Jason and seemingly everyone I've encountered in my life, because you are unlike anyone I've encountered in my life, and I am not going to mess that up. Jester, I'm sorry."
I'll set my fishing pole down and go and move to hug him.
He quickly drops the rod and accepts the hug.
Oh, I'm sorry too. I shouldn't have yelled. You were going through a lot.
I know I'm frustrating, to say the very least. Annoying. Couple that. I don't always know the words to say. I pick my words very carefully and I keep them brief because talking about emotions and feelings and it's not tactical. It's
Scary,
yes.
because it's not something you know.
I don't understand how there's nothing that can be done. I don't understand this helpless feeling of having hurt someone and not being able to regenerate it or stitch it or heal it. There aren't any spirits that can, well, maybe there are, but I don't work with spirits. I don't have the tools to deal with this. And it's been easier just letting others find solutions, or in some cases, not. Like with Isidoro. I assumed everyone understood like I did. With this war, with this responsibility, that they understood that that must come first. But in reality, I'm coming to learn that no one had the life I had.
No. Well, no. Not that I know of, that no one had the life you had. Whatever we had before, bad, good, some mix of the two usually, kind of was ripped away from us in a very, for most, surprising and violent manner. And then we're told the people that we've loved and have been there for us our entire lives, we can't tell them the biggest and worst secret that has happened to us. And not only that, but we learn the world is dying and we're in a war that we're losing. And nobody seems to know what to do. So we just go on with what they believe was what we've been doing because they believe that's the best. But it's not. And yeah, it's a lot.
I have always been able to take pride in and rely on the fact that I am unbeatable, that I win. Unless I choose to allow someone to get one over on me, I win. Only one individual has ever beaten me, and I was never going to let anyone else do that. Because that's what this war needs. That's what this nation needs. But in reality, I'm coming to find that I have been losing a lot more than I thought. Hurting my brother-in-arms in Isidoro, hurting Jason, hurting you. Those are all losses, and I can't easily come to terms with it because there was no conflict physically. There was no tooth and claw or It's beyond my understanding, and I'm trying, but it's very difficult because if it's this easy to throw me off, how am I supposed to do what I need to do for the sept, for the nation, for the tribe, for you?
You know, just having a similar conversation about feeling helpless. Because that's what you're feeling right now. You're feeling helpless because everything you've tried hasn't fixed anything and you don't know what to do. And I don't have a good answer for how to fix it other than patience with Jace and with Izzie. Communication. Trying this. You did a really good job of explaining right now how you're feeling to me. Like, it's good to keep that up with people you trust that you can talk to. But on trying not to feel helpless or getting rid of the helpless feeling, I don't have an answer. I think I'm fighting sort of the same thing of feeling helpless on what happens to me at Piney Point. And I'm not doing great at it. And so I think a lot of that bled out, and what I was trying to preach, I was doing, or trying to preach against, I was doing. And I'm sorry for that.
You have nothing to be sorry for. What happened to you would be traumatic to anyone. And what you're feeling is valid. If it's within my power, I assure you, I won't let that happen again. And what happened there aren't words for it. Not something you can prepare for. It's not something you can plan against. It's something you survive. It's something you find some sort of strange peace with. And it's something we make sure doesn't happen to anyone else. Jester, you survived because of how strong you are. Others would have likely died instantaneously in a situation like that, but not you. You will recover from this. But only if you want to. That's something you've been teaching me throughout this entire process of emotions. You just have to allow yourself time and to lean on those who care about you. I'm struggling with the concept of time because of the pressure of this war we're fighting. But it's going to happen whether we like it or not. Time. And we've been fighting this war for centuries, as far as I can tell. What's a few weeks, right?
Yeah. A few weeks. I didn't say it to Aspen, but I'm kind of scared. We're going into the dreaming soon. What if there's more like it?
Don't give them the chance.
So just be completely vigilant.
Well, what did we learn? They exhaled spores, much similar to the plants that we had encountered many times before.
They made illusions, so we didn't see him at first.
But there are precautions that can be taken. Cover your skin, cover your face.
Okay.
We learned how to deal with the plants. We can learn how to prevent this. I'd understand if you didn't want to go, but I really think you should. Because as a certain stubborn and irritatingly right Black Fury Galliard taught me, we can't hide from the things that scare us. We have to face them, and we have to do whatever it takes to beat them.
Hate it when my words come back at me.
Then maybe you need to be less talkative. And he gives an actual genuine smile.
Nah.
I was hoping you'd say that. A
That's too much to
silent
say.
galliard sounds like a
It's
paper
sad.
clip with no paper.
It's really sad.
Thank you for not giving up on me. It would have been a whole lot easier if you had. But I like that this isn't easy.
Relationships are never easy, Charles. We're gonna argue, we're gonna fight, but I have faith that we'll work it out and we'll figure it out. And no, I'm never going to give up on you. Because stare off for a moment. Sometimes I get tired of surviving things, but you make life worth living.
I'm tired of life being a responsibility. You make it feel less so.
Good.
Speaking of facing fear, I don't want us to hide anymore.
Oh?
The best way to deal with vulnerability is to be aware of it and control it. But I feel more vulnerable not being who I am with you when I'm around others. I feel like I'm fake. Plus, others need to know that if they mess with you, they're messing with me. And I'm their teacher.
Fair. Pretty sure with them I could fight my own battles, but I appreciate it. You might want to reconsider. I've learned something today. I didn't know whether or not it was a good time to tell you, but I feel like I can't hold this back. Aspen told me she met with your mentor, Iron Oath Bokov. He's in the city.
See his eyebrows raise. Oh.
I'll squeeze him tighter. I don't know if that changes how you feel about that. If you want to wait until after
He
whatever.
sits up a little bit taller and pulls his shoulders back. Good. I'm glad he's here. He should see that he couldn't break me.
I'll hug him tighter. I'm here for you. Whatever happens.
And I'm here for you. Whatever happens. Now explain to me why this is supposed to be fun. Seems like a
It's
lot of
supposed to be-
waiting and hoping that one small insect is enough to bring in an entire fish. I
It's
could
supposed to be
do that on my own. I don't need the insect or all the equipment that is far too expensive.
okay. Trying to be manly now. It's supposed to be relaxing. You're supposed to sit and hang out and chat and wait. Yes, you wait. You have patience for them to like bite and pull. Most people can't pull fish out of like rivers with their bare hands, first of all. But secondly, it's supposed to be just relaxing, and it helps teach patience.
It's really not that difficult. There are individuals in Louisiana who do it all the time. Some sort of trout fishing thing. Or catfish.
Yeah, okay. Fair, but you know, it's a little too weird fishing enthusiasts.
I'm glad we're doing it. Anyway, it's more outdoors than usual, but
Mm-hmm. You get to wear the cute outfit.
they told me I needed it when I looked at them blankly about what I need for fishing.
Okay, Charles, don't come on. Why did you look so blankly? Like, they pretty much was like, we're gonna like take you for everything you have
They
and sell you
couldn't.
whatever they could. Nah, well, they were gonna sell you everything they could then.
They tried to convince me that we should do deep sea fishing and I should get a prowler boat. And I said, I'm probably only going to do this once, so no.
Good.
I couldn't tell them about the sharks, but
Right. The weresharks you've talked about before.
yes.
Did you ever fight one?
No. Not yet.
Well, we are near the coast.
It would be a political issue if I did.
Okay.
He looks to you once again. His eyes soften as he distances himself from the memory of the awful fishing shop and the extreme amount of money he had to spend on supplies. And he says, I love you, Jester.
I love you too.
And he leans in and gives you a kiss. and holds you.
I'll wrap my arms around his neck and kiss him as well. Kiss him back.
No plant can take this black fury down.
Mm-hmm.
And with that, we go to break. We'll be back in just a few minutes with the second half of tonight's story. St. Petersburg by Night is brought to you through collaboration with our partnered vendors, Chromatic Creations, Panchi Artista, Ember Fox Dice, Champs Tramps, and Howl and Hop Tea. Links to our partnered vendors, as well as our Twitch and YouTube channels, can be found on our website, stpetebynight.com. You can follow St. Pete by Night on all socials with the hashtag St. Pete by Night. If you wish to support our programs, you can do so at ko-fi.com/St. Pete by Night to help keep the stories rolling. Welcome back. As we return, we find ourselves on a busy city street in a downtown adjacent, just outside of the territory belonging to the kindred, as you were all very well informed as to where you can and cannot go as new arrivals to Tampa. Terrance is like a kid in a candy store. He's been running around with you all day, Isidoro, showing you some of the best places, some of the best hot spots, places of activity, places to people watch. He's even told you about good areas to go if you need to acquire something for cheap. And now the discussion has turned to food. So we pick up the scene mid-conversation as Terrance says, all right, so there's a fine art to eating in Tampa. Sure, you could go to the shiny touristy locations near the beach or downtown, but they're just going to charge you an arm and a leg for mediocre, half decent food. They just dress it up nicely. No, the places you want to go are dirty, but a certain amount of dirty, because there is too dirty. And those are the places you definitely want to avoid, the places that are closed every other week for a health violation. No, you want to go just above that. So what do you feel like eating?
Well, assuming the dirtiness factor, as you said, doesn't have a bearing on it, I'm in the mood for something heavy.
I know just the
got back
place.
from Orlando, and boy howdy, we were there for what felt like an afternoon, and I am just...
I know this Mexican restaurant, they make these enormous burritos. They call them a meat hurricane, I think.
Meat hurricane?
Yeah,
in Florida?
Absolutely.
Is that a good taste?
Okay. Hurricanes aren't that scary, all right? They're really not that big. It's just a lot of rain, a little bit of wind. It's really not that big of a deal. And so at this point, he excitedly starts walking with you in one direction. You walk for a few blocks, and almost at every street corner, he's pointing out some experience he had, regaling you with a tale of what he was doing in this location 5 years ago, 10 years ago, how he used to play in this park as a kid, and there's a basketball court, and he'd talk about a trick shot he made once. Might be a little bit fabricated, might have been a little less fancy than he states, but he is just excitedly giving you a tour until he takes you to this taco truck, almost like a trailer that they're serving food out of, and he goes, this is the place. Dos Amigos has some of the best Mexican food you're going to ever see. Don't mind the rust or the dents on the trailer. And yes, I realize the guy who is cooking should be wearing a hairnet, but you know, it's a gamble. And he goes walking up to the counter and starts ordering food for both of you, making the decision to get 2 meat hurricanes as well as a couple of Mexican Cokes and a side of chips and salsa. And as he brings them out to one of the cafe-esque tables that are set up outside with the umbrella, he wasn't lying. This burrito is probably about 16 inches long and about 4.5, 5 inches wide. And it's wrapped really tightly together with an excellent tortilla, but you can even see at the ends that some of it is starting to spill out as, chorizo meat comes tumbling out of one side, as well as carne asada. He sets the plate down in front of you. Enjoy.
Izzie, to the best of his ability, looks at this just beast of a burrito and goes, oh shit, where do I start? Which end?
It's like they say with an elephant, start with the trunk.
He will try his best to scoop up and make sure it doesn't just sort of disintegrate.
It is well packed, though there seems to be some of the meat spilling out of one end. It is very tightly rolled and stable. So as you lift it, it does take 2 hands to hold, but you've got a good grasp on it.
As he starts leveraging it towards his mouth, he'll take a bite, and I assume it's to die for.
It is a culinary delight. There is a explosion of flavor and spices done just right. You do see that there are little bottles of hot sauce available at the counter, and Terrance actually helps himself to a few and starts pouring some of the hot sauce on the end that he's bitten off of as he goes, taking bites. There is avocado and guacamole. There is some pico de gallo available to be added as well. Just a lot of sensations and flavors. But yeah, it's delicious. And as you're eating in between bites, Terrance looks to you as he chews and says, so how are you settling in?
With one side of his face, no doubt, just smeared with viscera of his kill, he just goes, after after the trip, Karen is comfortable. People, for the most part, seem to be on a first name basis with me, though, well, several members are still in the pound for my affection. But for the people I've met, Jester and Jason, of course, even Aspen, I like to think I've made a good second impression. I know I haven't been around the house that much, but what's been up with getting everything set up?
Well, it was really nice. I mean, the place basically came furnished, so there's not a great deal for us to set up, but you just kind of have to make it our... Oh, wait, you got a little bit of sour cream right there. Gotta...
Shit. Come on. Just complete slob. He is lost in the sauce.
But it's nice. I mean, it's got a nice TV, and I've never lived in anywhere as big as this. I lived in a lot of group homes growing up, and so this was way too luxurious, I think. But I mean, I guess if Charles got it, it's got to be.
I won't say anything.
No,
yeah.
Say it. You keep holding these things in like they're gonna get better on their own or worse on their own. Like, what's the deal? What's the history there, Izzie? Because honestly, yeah, he's a dick, but he's quiet. He stays out of the way for the most part.
Izzie will take another bite of the burrito, if only to give an excuse not to speak for the next 10 seconds or so. And as He swallows. He'll set the slab down before running at the edges of his lips, looking down at the various sauces before following up with a swig of soda and goes, it's, I listen, Charles and I, we had a lot of history together. And when we were, and at this, he sort of looks around at the various tables to make sure there's not.
It's mid-afternoon. Yeah, there's a few people grabbing food from the food truck, but they seem to be taking it with them as they go. You feel pretty confident and comfortable in the surroundings at the moment.
Keeping a particular notice of his own volume, he'll sort of go into a lower register as he goes, you know, when he and I were in the same pack, there was a lot of support from the nation, but I don't know, it felt like he didn't really know anyone in the pack half the time. And yeah, we spoke, we talked about the mission, or, oh, we need to get enough sleep or gather more supplies, or we need to refuel on gas or get more ammo, and fine. But I don't know, it seems kind of stupid. Never, hey, how you doing? Or what are you looking forward to? Any of that. And when it came...
Doesn't sound stupid, it sounds lonely.
Yeah.
Part of being alive is how we connect with people, and to not have those kinds of connections, I'd pity a guy like that.
Well, you'd pity Charles Albrecht. Although apparently he's doing better. So I'm happy for him.
No, you're not. You resent him because he's having something that you wish you'd had. That he's happy when you're miserable. Am I on target?
You're a little shit. But yes.
There's this philosophy that I've heard about love languages. I picked up a book about it. There was not a lot to do around the farm at certain points. There wasn't a harvest and stuff.
Just in case this is going where I think it's going, Charles wasn't my type.
No, but it goes in more than one way, right? So there's people who like physical affection. There's people who like words of affirmation, kind of what you're talking about. There's people who like acts of service. I think if I had to guess, it's not that Charles didn't care. It's that he was caring in the way he knew how, which was protecting, leading, organizing, making sure everybody had what they needed. It's not obvious, and it's not direct, and it's not for everyone. Me personally, I'm a words of affirmation guy. I like to know when I do good, because I have a hard time telling myself I'm doing good. But it doesn't make it any less important. And being on the lookout for those things, that's what helps us know how people feel about us. If he didn't care about you, why would he care what happened to you? Why would he care about, whether you lived or died? As long as he did, and as long as whatever mission you were on was successful, the rest didn't really matter. But it did matter, from the sounds of it. And as for the nation's support, that is... Oh boy, that's like expecting a moth net to catch a bear. It's impossible to count on and impossible to rely upon. One of the things about the Georgia Sept the Sept of the Fertile Soil is we learned to provide for ourselves, to take what Gaia offered us, not what the nation offered us. And we would give what we had, what we could, to others to help, because we knew that trying to rely on an overburdened, broken structure is fruitless and pointless.
I think about 80% of what you're saying is making some sense to me, but
What's the 20?
at that, Izzie specifically, tries to bite back a bit at the cynicism that has sort of floundered up in the years since Charles left, and then eventually with the dissolution of the Piercing Moonrise Pack. And as he mulls it over, he tries to find a point of wisdom in that pain as he goes, for Charles, I think it's fair to say he was both speaking in the love language of making sure we're well supported, while also not knowing how to care for us. That was one of the reasons why he relied on me so much. Because I could talk with other members of the pack, I could find out what they need. And when I brought it back to him, he would just sort of pick through, as leaders often do. But when I'll give you an example. We were going through Georgia, I think. Not near where you were. We were, I think, outside Atlanta.
Pretty sure this was before my time anyway.
A fair bit. And it was sort of like on the big outer ring. You know how most cities, you have the downtown, and then you have a bunch of suburbs, and then it just sort of goes out from there. We had two people who, if given the opportunity, would love to have a chance to be with Gaia. And wouldn't you know it, outside of Atlanta, there's a bunch of forestry. But for Charles, he said, we got a hotel, we're staying in a hotel downtown. Now, we didn't know where in the city we were going. We ended up sort of bouncing between everywhere. But he didn't really consider that some of his pack might have preferences. And I had to explain that to him when we were checking in, like, hey, we might want to make sure that Summer Song and Rabia have a chance to roam about, because they're kind of antsy. And he looked, I don't want to say bewildered, but I knew him well enough to where I think he knew his mistake. But Charles Albrecht, he didn't make mistakes that much. He just said, we'll deal with it. I wish that the Charles right now was present for the Piercing Moonrise Pack, because I think we maybe could have. Well, it doesn't matter what. How's your food?
My food is fine. Well, it's
Okay.
great. It's the taste of home. It's been forever. But I think that one thing that you're taking for granted, if you don't mind me saying, was the respect he clearly had for you in the position you were in. To be the go-between between a leader and their followers, that position carries a lot of weight and a lot of responsibility. And if he thought that you were capable and the one to do it that's also instilling a lot of trust, because that position could sow dissent, it could sow distrust, it could further divide or widen the gap between the two entities. It's the bridge, and the bridge is the only way you cross the river. And just because he wouldn't admit he was wrong doesn't mean he didn't admit you were right. Pride is a terrible thing. Appearances are deceiving. But clearly, it meant something. He wouldn't have been taken aback. He would have said he knew, and he didn't care if he didn't care. If your words didn't have importance or merit, he would have told them to tough it out. He would have not thought twice, but because you said it, because it was coming from his trusted second, it had an impact. Was it the impact you were hoping for? Not always, but it was an impact nonetheless. And someone who doesn't care about people doesn't get impacted. They don't get thrown. What I've seen about Charles is he puts on the appearance of someone who doesn't get thrown, but that doesn't mean he doesn't. And really, the other thing to acknowledge here is it hurt. You're hurt. And that's okay. But it also might be influencing some of what you're feeling, some of how you're acting, some of how you're remembering the past. Because if I've learned anything about spirits, a lot of them are based off of emotions, and those emotions can distort the perspective of the individual having them. That's why Banes are so dangerous, is they twist us to see what they want us to see, how they want us to see, and then add on to it our own impressions of it, and it just becomes a Dali painting.
As Terrance finishes his words of wisdom, Izzie does replay specifically that memory of Atlanta back in his head, and he sees it vividly, but probably only in the vividness of a time Charles failed, colored by his eventual betrayal, as Izzie sees it, and years of isolation and solitude, the downward spiral of Izzie's life. And I think in this moment, he doesn't quite want to accept that, but cracks are sort of beginning to form on that resolution as he goes, I can't say for certain, but I just wish all his bluster, all this strength of resolve, this burden of leadership meant he didn't try to distance himself. I don't know.
Well, you're in a room, and you don't turn down a challenge, so I'm going to give you a challenge.
Oh, no.
I want you to change the way you think by adding a filter onto it. The Charles Albrecht you know doesn't exist anymore. There is an individual who bears his name, maybe bears his memories, but that's not the same guy that left. Maybe, just maybe, take on the challenge of getting to know this new person. You can call him Charlie if that's easier for you. I'm sure it'll drive him nuts. But
I should have called him Charlie when we first met. You think that would have made him fight me?
Not now, but maybe then.
Coulda, woulda.
I'm just saying, try practicing the idea that this is a different person, a brand new person. He's going to carry whatever he carries from that situation, and that I can't control. None of us can control that. But what can be controlled is you. You can control how you behave. And it might seem fake at first, it might seem disingenuous, but really it's a second chance. And that's very genuine. And maybe you'll get that same response in kind. Maybe you'll get those words of affirmation you've been seeking, because maybe he isn't the same person. But there's only one way to find out, and it's not by avoiding it, and it's not by fighting it, and it's not by resenting it. It's by trying it. And really, what else do you have to lose?
Izzie will stare, perhaps a bit more intensely than he means to, into the burrito before him. Already one or two bites taken from it, barely a dent in the sheer size of this monstrosity. And as a bit of the steam continues to rise from the interior, he reaches down, plucking up the mess as best he can before taking another big bite of it and going, okay. So, if I'm getting challenged, I have a challenge for you.
Hit me.
Okay. When I had my crash out session, you seemed pretty calm in there as I was busting down walls for an hour. I need to see how well you fight. Because if I'm going to be inviting you on very important missions, I need to know whether or not I can let you handle things.
Okay. Well, that brings up an excellent opportunity for you to get to know me better. And he looks past you, beyond you, and calls out, "Hey, Javier." And as you turn to look, you see an older man with tan-ish skin, graying hair, big bushy eyebrows. Looks like he has definitely been around the block many, many, many times. His skin is cracked by wrinkles, but he's wearing a t-shirt under a kind of jean jacket that says St. Pete Defense Training Academy. The man looks back at him, and then you see those eyebrows, those almost like caterpillar-esque eyebrows rocket up, and he goes, "Terrance? Yeah. Good to see you, man. It's been so long. How are you? Look how big you've gotten." "Yeah, more like a weed, less like a bush, but how are you, man?" He goes, I'm good. Oh, sorry to interrupt. Who's your friend?"
Just me and my burrito, man. You want a slice?
"Oh, I just ate. I am as full can be. Javier," and he holds out a hand to you.
Both hands are just drenched in food residue as he goes,
"How about an elbow bump? I learned this from
there we go.
pandemic. There you go. Yeah.
Oh.
Well, sorry, Terrance was a student of mine in an after-school program for a while. Of course, that was many years ago." And Terrance says, "Yeah, the program I was a part of would pay for activities like classes like this and whatnot. I'm good. I was up in Georgia for a little bit, and now I'm back and just showing my new friend Izzie around the city, and he's never lived here before, but we're
Never been.
getting acclimated. He goes, oh, it is great. It's a lot at times, and if you're not one for driving, it can get very, very aggravating at times, but it's a good place to live. You can't beat the weather in March.
Yeah, I've heard it gets bad, and I'm already sweating, so I'm not looking forward to when May or June rolls around.
You'll get used to it. You need to get your sea legs, and then once you have those, the heat isn't as bad as it seems. Plus, there's air conditioning everywhere. They invented it here.
Not for the places I tend to hang out, but Javier, pleasure to make your acquaintance. Terrance, you said you used to do, and with that he looks very quizzically at the shirt, after school programs. What was that about?
So self-defense classes, at-risk youths, that kind of thing.
So you can throw a punch, huh?
Maybe. I guess you'll just have to find out, won't you?
Not too boastful now, are we? Not in the presence of your teacher.
Absolutely not. This guy was throwing kids around, but so safely and carefully he'd set them down like a baby, but he could deadlift a 14-year-old like nobody I've ever seen.
Izzie pauses, and words play, echoing Jason's voice. Find repetition. And then a second one, not necessarily direct words, but in Aspen's tone, get a job. So you're pretty good at fighting, huh?
Well, let's not get too far ahead of ourselves. I am one of the advisory panel of that particular gym, but I am I've slowed a few steps in my older age.
I mean, you know, respectable still, and I've been around the block to know just because you're old doesn't mean you can't lay someone half your age out, right?
Well, you look like someone not to mess with. I'm seeing those guns that you're packing, and I'm going to ask if you have a permit.
I like you. I'm friendly, though, really. Just nothing to worry about.
That your smile agrees with. Are you experienced in any of the martial arts?
You know, I've never been formally trained, but if you need assistance in, say, endurance training, I used to do track and field and cross country, that kind of stuff in high school. I'm, as you can see, pretty fit, although as a bunch of weight builders might attest to, just because you look fit doesn't mean you're necessarily good at teaching people. Still, I like to think I'm knowledgeable on this stuff. I got some, experience under my belt. Are you looking for someone to assist?
Well, we're looking for a wrestling coach and actually a fitness guru of sorts. So why don't you come by the gym sometime?
But I can provide at least some teaching.
An instructor, then at the very least.
Yeah, sure.
Dieting and regular exercise, nothing too strenuous. We're not looking for a bodybuilder. We're looking for someone to help enhance lifestyles. And actually, Terrance, we are still doing the program that you were a part of. So maybe you can come by sometime and talk to the kids and show them how well you're doing.
Yeah, Terrance, you gotta show the new generation what it's like to survive Javier's regiment.
Oh, I more than survived. I think that I probably would be in a much worse place if it wasn't for Javier and the program. So, yeah, I'd love to. Anytime, man. Javier says, well, good. Like I said, Isidoro or Izzie, please come by. Come by sometime and we can see if we can get you started on something. I mean, the pay is okay. It's mostly about the effort, but we can probably scratch something up in the budget for you.
Izzie tries really bad not to make a joke of, well, this is going to be the first job I've had in a while. Probably not the best impression, but he just smiles and nods and goes, yeah, Javier, pleasure to make your acquaintance. I don't have a personal contact.
Just come by the gym. No
Okay.
judgments here. You just show up. I'm there most days. In fact, this is just a day off for me, but just tell them that I sent you and they will make sure something happens.
Hell yeah. Well, Terrance, you've done me another great service. Javier, obviously a pleasure to make your acquaintance.
He offers out his elbow again. I will leave you all to your
Bah.
meal. Enjoy the
There we go,
burrito.
there.
If you can master the hurricane, then you'll do just fine here.
Oh my god, this is legendary then. Terrance, you didn't mention this was a feat worthy of renown. Come on. And
I
with that,
told
he
you,
takes
man.
another
Most
bite.
people take home leftovers for days afterwards, but you're doing pretty well. And as you look over at Terrance's basket, half the burrito is gone. Javier then gives a smile, gives Terrance a pat on the back, and returns to the counter to order up something to take back to the gym. Well, you're getting a little bit more ingrained than I expected today.
I would say so, yes. Terrance, I owe you yet another heap of praise. Although I don't know if this is technically going to be moot worthy. I mean, I basically did half the work, right?
I don't even need any praise for it. It's your winning smile and charming personality that sealed the deal. I'm just happy to make the two dots connect. It's actually really good timing that he was here. That's all.
Ah. Well, Gaia works in mysterious ways, I guess. I don't know if that's really a saying, but
No, that's accurate. I think
Okay.
that's pretty dead on. Yeah, I mean this place is a place pretty much only locals know about, and I've lived here my entire life except for the last year or so. So I can show you all the kinds of places like this.
yeah. Obviously, we're going to be full up in a minute here, but
Oh, there is a beautiful river walk not that far from here. Some good benches there. We can just chill out and watch, some of the sailboats pass.
that's going to be lovely. Especially, is there shade?
Of
Please
course.
tell me there's shade.
There
Okay.
has to be.
Oh, okay. We're okay. We're okay.
So as you dig back into your burrito, realizing there's no way you're going to finish this today, you're going to definitely take it home with you.
Can I make a roll?
Sure.
Try.
Yeah, why don't you give me a stamina and resolve check?
What is my current rage?
Let's say you were nearing a 2, but you stayed at a 1. You're okay. There's no immediate threat or danger or anxiety evoking surroundings.
2 successes.
You don't finish it.
Okay.
You
He
are
is
definitely
bested.
you're taking home about maybe 30% of it with you. You did good, but it is a feat, surprisingly, even for larger men. It's tough to tackle. Terrance, also not trying to show off, doesn't finish his burrito and wraps it up, preparing to take it with him. What's going through your mind after this entire interaction and discussion?
Well, outside of the immediate thought of, at least I don't have to bring this back to the cairn. I can bring this to the house so no one can see my failure. His deeper thoughts are one of a tranquility. Obviously, he's amongst the city, St. Petersburg, but it's a strange return to normalcy for Izzie as he is walking around. He feels sort of the ache of his feet, the strain of his belly, and as he watches boats go by with Terrance from a bench overlooking a water line, it is the first time in a very long time, even since arriving to the cairn, that he feels like things are all right. Like, it's just another day. The sun's out. It's shining. People are walking about. There is no dread, no aches of the past. It is just beautiful serenity.
For Guru, these moments of peace are rare. Knowing what's really going on, seeing beyond the veil to all of the dangers and constant struggles that remain, not to mention all of the terrors that are just around the corner ahead that have not yet been discovered. But for this particular Guru, that peace might be a distraction because there is a lot of turmoil and pain and anger buried down deep. And if something isn't done about it, well, we know how that story ends. We transition now to our final scene of tonight's story. Aspen, you haven't had an opportunity to go to Jace's latest entrepreneurial adventure, but you find that you might have a really good excuse to. After the conversation with Jester and the knowledge of its proximity to the college, a place that Shannon has already started working at, it might not be a bad idea to stop by. So, dropping in one early evening as the sun is cresting the horizon, sending that beautiful glow of oranges, yellows, reds, and purples across the sky, the restaurant is fairly busy. Not too busy, thankfully, for a conversation in maybe the back room or one of the private rooms of the establishment, but busy enough to show that it's going well. And it's still within the first few weeks of its grand opening, so a lot of people are venturing out to check it out for the first time to see if it's worth shaking a stick at. And so far it is, it seems. So as you arrive, Jace, you were expecting Aspen to drop by. She wouldn't come in unannounced unless there was a really important reason for it. So you've already made sure that everything is as it needs to be, that you're not going to be pulled away for anything, that the staff is doing what the staff does best, and you take her through the establishment, showing off some of the features of the architecture and decoration, having her walk by the kitchen to see just how well stocked and like a beehive it is with all the busy bees moving around making the food. The smells, Aspen, are divine. This is top tier pizza. This isn't like Domino's or a place like that. It is almost artisanal in some of the dishes that they make. And eventually you find your way to a back booth further away from all of the other eating customers that is roped off and only necessary for overflow or private parties. And this is where the scene begins. It is yours.
Aspen slides into a booth, looking around. Well, it looks busy.
He'll slide in. It's been nonstop since I didn't really cut a ribbon, but since the ribbon's been cut.
It's gotta be for your water bill as she touches one of the plants, one of the many plants in this establishment.
Okay, when the idea came up and I gave the floor plan, I told them my budget was, I had wiggle room, and they took that and ran with it. Some of these plants I didn't order, but they had brought them in and they were already here. So I said, fuck it. I'll have someone come in and take care of them. And so now I have plants from all over the place.
Good, I guess. I've never associated, a jungle with pizza, but I like it. It's interesting.
Yeah, people seem
Go ahead.
People seem to enjoy the aesthetic. I get questioned on the name and all that a lot, but I just kind of tell them it was a fever dream and I just ran with it, and that seemed to kind of cover all my bases.
Speaking of the plants, looking around at all of the greenery that decorates the main dining room and outside. Both of you can't help but be a little bit unnerved. Your mind's going back to the greenhouse, Tiny Point, the last year of dealing with very problematic plants and what was spawned from them. And Jace, your own personal encounter with being infected by one of those plants, that for a moment, they aren't as luxurious or appealing as they should be, but that moment passes.
There's still times of the past year that brings back unpleasant memories, but I keep a close eye on things to make sure nothing awry is going on.
Well, seeing as how you have half of the plants in Florida in this one room, you'll have plenty of time to keep an eye on them.
I'll it's better to keep it all in one area, and it's easier for me if I just have them here, and I can just maintain from that point. Speaking of that, it's been a while since we actually had a chat, and the last time you tried bringing something up, I brushed you off. I'd like to say sorry about that, and you're welcome.
Tensions were high. I don't blame you for brushing it off. I just wanted to be able to say something in case things got, well, dangerous.
And they definitely did. I'm assuming, did it go okay when you went back?
Yeah. I mean, bittersweet is the best way I could say it. Didn't go, sunshine and rainbows, but it was closure, and it was actually a really nice conversation.
Good. Yeah. Do you feel like you've come full circle? Like nothing really else kind of offsetting now?
I mean, there's always something, Jace.
Well,
so.
I meant about that particular circle, not all the other 12 million circles that you have with the job that you do.
I think that particular circle, with that particular person, I think is okay. But, that also comes with somebody from that past coming down here and she kind of points generally to the school. And that causes a whole new realm of problems.
Yeah, speaking of which, he'll do a quick look, and then he'll reach into his jacket and pull out a small little dossier folder and kind of slide it across. Been kind of keeping an eye on things over there. So in there is a kind of a comprehensive thing of what I've found. Oddest things, top 3 are the library is now open till like early in the morning, like 2:33 a.m. And the influx of amount of night classes going on there is extra, man. Like it's peaking at this point. And the amount of people walking around with bandages on their arms, once a week, they're having trucks come in, blood drives constantly. So
Okay.
I know that we have our agreements about things, but seriously, I'll lean forward. If you want something done, you just gotta say the word, and I'll cause a little mischief over there just to kind of break things up a little bit.
If this all changes, you'll be the first to know.
I have ideas, I just can't do anything with them.
Are you utilizing the contact within the school?
Kent, the information that was gathered, was that from the contact, or was that from the streets tell stories and things like that?
I'd say that's primarily from what you've overheard in the restaurant, streets tell stories, that kind of stuff. You have not utilized the contact yet.
Okay. I actually haven't met that person yet. With it being as busy as it is here, it's more of in passing. I hear different things and different things I've seen. When I put my ear to the ground and do certain stuff, I'm able to pick up things, but it's hard to reach out to that person because of the different things we have in place. So I have an easier time doing it from here.
Well, if you're wanting more information, and she'll just pull out a piece of paper out of her purse and write the name and the number down and slide it over. It's more information. I know that's your biggest thing. So the more the merrier, right?
Yeah. He'll grab it and look at it and tuck it into his jacket. But that's what I've got so far on over there. Quick update. Izzie and I survived, so we're good there. So weird stuff happened. I don't know how to explain it. Guess
You
I'll just
went to the magic show.
yeah, okay. I went to the magic show and there was this antique library kind of set that they put up. And once we went in there, they had a hypnotist who was able to get Moses to remember things that he just had like locked away. It was crazy. And he's going to be able to help with those different things coming up. He will, once that's done, the hypnotic trance will happen and he will not be able to do any type of jobs like that ever again for us, though.
I mean, it's unfortunate, but it might be for the best.
Yeah. They brought up a name and I was told not to look into it. Can I borrow that paper and pen real quick?
Yeah.
Don't want to say that. He'll write out the name of the mages, the Technocracy. He'll write that out and he'll slide that across to her. They're a group of magic performers that don't follow the same rules, and they go outside the bounds of what the magic establishment deem okay. Moses has concerns that they might come and ask him to join their show and kind of get ideas on what he knows.
Now, Aspen, as you look at the piece of paper, the word technocracy sounds like one of those EDM bands that Artie loves so much. It does not sound like something potentially real. It's almost hard to believe.
She'll look at the paper and fold it up and put it into her purse. Okay, we'll just...
We can't do anything with that, though.
Well, I've never been one for magic shows, so I guess if this fancy new, I don't know, magic show comes to town, we'll talk about it.
Yeah. I was heavily warned that not to do any type of like looking into their show or anything like that to kind of see how the job is done, because they like to keep things under wraps and they will know more about you looking into them. So, and that really sucks for me, but I gonna put in your court. You ask me to do it, I'll absolutely do all the digging I can.
I know, but
yeah,
we will not peek behind the curtain anytime soon. We have way too many other shows to go watch.
True. Yeah. I believe that's all my updates for right now. Moses just kind of needs time to get his magic show under road and we'll be good to go.
Timeline would be helpful, but I get like that's all a lot. Being hypnotized.
Things are coming up to the forefront. It's scrambled.
Okay, well, we'll be as patient as we can. I know this is more your purview, so if you say things are going at a good pace, then I trust it. But she'll lean over, grab a slice of whatever pizza has been brought, take a bite of it, put it back down. First to the kill. And she'll like gesture to the pizza.
He'll grab a slice and take a bite. Yeah, it's not too shabby. It's expensive, but making decent money here, and the information's good.
That's good. And she'll just lean in, put her elbows on the table. How are you doing?
Just trying to stay busy. I got a lot on my plate, but it's nothing I can't handle. How are you doing with everything though? Because my plate is one, and like I said, you have a lot. So
I do. But I was mostly talking about you being mopey all of the time.
I can try being more chipper if that would make you happy.
It's not what I'm saying, Jace. I'm trying to have conversation.
I know what you're trying to do. The mopiness will go away with time. That I can promise you. It just dealing with some stuff, things I didn't realize I was dealing with that are coming up. So
Charles stuff.
he'll look at her for a bit. That it's part of it.
Care to expound?
Care to know, but if you are asking me from your position, be more than happy to tell you.
Not asking from my position. I just figured, been through a lot. We're friends now. I'm not always dealing with that stick up my butt.
Oh, did you remove it just for me? How quaint. How nice.
Yeah,
Appreciate
just for this
that.
interaction. Just for you.
Yeah. Well, since it's been removed, be sure to put that right back up there when you walk out the door.
Absolutely.
What happened at the factory had a impact on me, and I talked to Charles about it. We have an understanding. I told him that if our friendship is on a hiatus at the moment, like that bridge is burnt, and I'm not really in the mood to rebuild it at this time, but I'm not letting it hinder the job itself. If he needs help for something that either Eliza or Delphine can't do, he can come to me and talk to me about it. Otherwise, we have no reason to have a conversation.
But why though? Like, I understand the situation and what happened. Like, I am well aware of the dynamic of that situation. But why are you holding on to it so hard?
There's a sense of betrayal's a really hard word, but that's the best one I can come up with.
So you're gonna sit on it for, I don't know, how many years? She looks at a fake watch. Did Isidoro sit on it until it all blew up and became a whole thing?
Isidoro's situation's a little bit different.
Is it? Is it really?
Other than the fact that it's dealing with me and not him, it's a lot easier to help someone from the outside and give advice than when you're sitting in the muck and trying to pull yourself out. Once you're actually in it, it's hard to stand back up. So that part's different. But when I take promises very seriously, and when I'm told that constant control is there, and that a loss of control can never happen because of other things that are put in place, and that promise is put in ironclad that it will never happen. Again, it could be selfishness, but the fact that it happened to me, I get it. I'm the newest one. I didn't have as good of a rapport. I was standing right there.
But okay, just for a moment. He made a promise to always keep control. And
Correct.
you trusted that that could happen as our group dynamic. She doesn't say guru because people, our group dynamic. You trusted that that was possible for our group dynamic.
I've never met someone like Charles ever that had such a cat on top of his entire life. Never I come across that. And the way that I've seen him in the different engagements that we had been in areas where I've seen other people like us in the job field go and kind of lose that control, he doesn't. He'll lean forward. Aspen, he drove a car into a giant wolf and
Right.
nothing. Absolutely nothing. And then we were chased by that wolf. Nothing. I've seen other ones lose control, and that shit doesn't happen.
And then someone he loves more than anything, got hurt, almost died. She like kind of leans in and whispers, and he lost it a little bit. And he's not good with feelings, and that makes sense. And for you to say that he should have kept that promise in that moment means that you don't know him well enough that that wasn't a potential, which means you're the one being a bad friend right now if you didn't know that that was possible. Then your friendship was never really a friendship because you didn't know Charles at all.
It could be. I understand why it happened. And I get it.
You threw your phone and were ready to leave everything and run and go die because the people you care about were in danger, right?
Right.
But Charles is not given the same grace. You have told me that I have to deal with my past and my situations, and I can't leave unsaid and just ignore what has happened. Correct? Those were your words?
Something like that. I don't know if that was verbatim, but it was close.
It's pretty close. Pretty close. So I have that responsibility, but you don't.
Like I said, it's a lot easier to help someone out of the mud when you're not in it.
Well, here we are. And you can be stubborn and not listen. But it's a little bit hypocritical if you're going to sit there and expect everyone else to heed your advice and to listen to you and your real concerns, but you won't listen to anybody else's.
Wasn't there a whole saying, do as I say, not as I do?
Yeah, it's a terrible saying.
I didn't expect to get the runaround from both of you, so this is fun for me. I'm really enjoying this.
I could have came in and been, Aspen the lawyer and debated with you, but I don't think that would have gotten very far. I figured I'd talk to you like friends.
I already have plans to talk with your lovely fiance and try and adjust my thought process.
I think that's a wonderful idea. I think there's situations that we all have been through that we need to talk through that maybe get in the way of our emotions now. You, Charles, Izzie, all of us. And I think you should talk to Artie. I think that's one of the things he's here for. But I think you should also just not be, and she pauses for a second, a little bitch, and just go talk to Charles.
I already talked to Charles, though. And I told
Yeah,
you.
but you were all in your feelings, being a grump and being betrayed, and he's not good at talking about emotions. And sometimes you have to put your best foot forward.
Let me put this in perspective. I hear you. I do. We had just taken out something that we've been trying to take care of for a year. It's done. And then the moment that the big bang happens, you're having to run away from the person that you thought would never hurt you. And then you're within a moment of your life, and they finally snap out of it because the one they love finally shouted to them. At the moment, I was scared. I was not in a great headspace because of all the things that just happened. I hadn't seen what happened to Jester happen, like, to anyone. So there's that's ingrained. I've only been that close to that point, not medically, because of the thing that happened to me. Twice. Both times were from people that I trusted very closely. And both from people that I would consider more than a friend, almost like family. So for it to happen twice, it's a lot. And the first person, I kind of went and ratted on them, and they're rotting in jail. I'm not going to do anything. I have no reason to be vindictive towards Charles. It's just when I see him, all those feelings come rushing back. And I understand that's something I need to work through.
I had a friend make a promise to someone else and didn't tell me about it. And when I was on death's door, thrown out of a ship, they took that promise and they died because of a promise they made to someone else without telling me. And did that make me angry? Yeah, it did. Did I feel betrayed? Yeah, I did. But I don't get to have those conversations and make it up to them, or them make it up to me, because they're gone. They're in a tree somewhere, but that doesn't mean I can talk to them like I did before. And in this life, it's better to make up with your friends than not have an opportunity to later.
He'll be tapping his finger on the table and then start tapping his foot. I'll talk to Charles. I'll try and rebuild what can be done.
Doesn't have to be right away. Just has to be a conversation.
Well, with our life, sooner is better than later. And I'm sorry to hear about your friend.
It's okay.
Is it?
You learn through experiences, and sometimes it's better to see the forest through the trees and let someone else know before watching it happen as a cyclical thing to someone else.
He'll reach forward and grab her hand. I hear you. But when we have these chats, and they'll happen again in the future, don't use my words against me because it stings more than if you use your own.
I think I'm going to continue to do that. But, that's our dynamic. And she'll squeeze his hand and grab another slice of pizza and put it on her plate.
Roll me a wits and awareness, both of you.
Rage?
One.
Okay.
I don't think there's anything too rage and evoking.
Three.
5.
Both of you notice as you go to reach for another slice, Aspen, you notice that there is a slice missing than was there when you first arrived. And in fact, the slice that was on Jace's plate is also missing, but it's replaced with a piece of receipt paper and a credit card. Jace, it's your credit card, and it's a bill to a place called The Extra Life. When you go to look at it, you see that on the other side is some writing, as if it's roughly scratched on it, and it just says, "They want to meet." And then it has 2 eyes, a smiley face with little pokey teeth coming out, and a tongue in the middle. And then it just is signed Skeeter. P.S. Thanks for the pizza.
This fucking kid. They want to meet.
Who?
He'll turn it around and show the little rat picture and then the name.
Is it a rat picture, Kent?
No, it's a smiley face with fangs and a tongue sticking out.
Oh, I thought you meant like buck teeth.
No.
Those teeth.
Like
Those
pointy
teeth.
vampire fangs.
Got it. I'm assuming the people that we allowed to have that little gray area.
Yeah, lots of plates. Let's just finish this one first, maybe.
Yeah. Do you want to set up the meeting, or do you want me to make a phone call?
I think we can go talk to them together if you'd like.
All right. He'll shove the receipt, a little frustrated, into his pocket, grab the little plate itself and his credit card and look at it. I need to keep this in a safer place. Apparently my wallet isn't good enough.
Yeah, the bill was for $175 of rental video game time at The Extra Life.
Said I wouldn't hurt him, but I didn't say anything about other people doing it.
As you finish up your meal, having this conversation, having a new revelation that these leeches might be a little bit more present than something that can be easily dismissed as a gray zone. What are you both thinking after this conversation? Aspen, we'll start with you, then we'll go to Jace.
Aspen went into this conversation, obviously, talking about how the trip went and things like that, but she also was thinking about Matthias's advice of lead by example. And she expected to get a little vulnerable to, show that she's there for Jace and try to make their friendship better, but she didn't expect to get that vulnerable. So in her mask to slip that much with Jace, but it was a pleasant surprise of his reaction to it. So, and then when everything went really well, of course, there's another thing to do. And that's always wonderful. That's always great when you get one win and you got another thing to do. So the thought of potentially meeting with more leeches is not great, but we'll see what the ratkin have to say because she trusts them for the most part.
Yeah. Jace.
At the moment, he sits there eating the piece of pizza, a bit frustrated that Skeeter would do that. But then he thinks about it like, I would actually expect nothing. I'm not that upset. But then he reflects back on the conversation, the information that he gave. He did not expect to have to revisit everything so back to back. And the women in this pack are on his shit. Like they know him a little too well. But both of their advice is kind of ringing into his head that his reaction towards Charles might have been a bit too abrupt. That that oath that he made him swear is far too large for one person to take on, especially with everything that's happening with the sept getting bigger. It's not fair to Charles. It's not fair to the friendship they had. And these things need to be changed. And with Aspen giving the story that she did and the different vulnerabilities that she has brought up to Jace are something he wouldn't expect, especially when he first met her. But he is sitting with the idea that she might actually be a much better person than he thinks she is.
When we encounter struggles, we deal with them in a variety of ways. Guru have this constant underlying anger. Some of it comes from their own experiences, but a good majority comes from the suffering that Gaia has experienced. There are a lot of ways to deal with frustration. You could sign up for a gym and start working there, wrestling, blowing off some steam physically. You could go fishing to a peaceful and serene riverbank. And sometimes all it takes is a good conversation with a friend and being told the things you don't want to hear to stop that boiler from erupting and exploding. Because it doesn't just damage its surroundings when it explodes. It destroys itself more than anything else. This is where our story comes to a close this evening, but not without two final scenes. Our first scene takes us to a very fancy high-end apartment complex. An apartment complex that a couple members of this pack are very, very familiar with because it's their home. Has been their home ever since Jester moved in with Charles. It's late at night. The parking lots are sending pools of light across the ground. Two Guru have taken a big step towards making up after a little bit of a tiff and have now fallen blissfully asleep. But where we are is outside. Because outside, a mentor looms. As a silvery gray wolf sits perched on the ground, looking up toward the very same apartment where those two Gurus sleep blissfully. Its eyes calculating, cold, direct, decisive. The wolf then gets up off its hindquarters and starts to cross the parking lot towards the gap between the buildings. We see in their mind a memory. And in this memory, they are in a dark room. A similar pool of light to that of the parking lot. But in this pool of light is a chair. And tied to that chair is a man who seemingly would be young in appearance, maybe 2022. But from the many, many decades they lived before that, they are truly much, much older. Volkov walks in with a young, blonde-haired boy at the age of 9. He passes him a blade. You know what you have to do. Are you sure I'm ready? You must be sure you're ready. Now do it, boy. Okay. And the young boy takes up the blade that is so large in his tiny hands. And he walks up to the leech strapped to the chair. He raises the blade and hesitates. And in a flash, Volkov is up to the chair, undoing the binds of the leech, who springs up out of the chair, but not quick enough because the blade slices across their neck, sending the head toppling off to the side and the torso dropping to the ground before quickly disintegrating. In our second scene, we find Eliza Ross, Stargazer Theurge. But she's not anywhere recognizable. Where she is the past. Where she is a dream. In this dream, there is a cemetery. A cemetery filled with well-manicured gravestones. A cemetery where 3 Guru lay dead. And a leech wearing a cowboy hat with the most ugly face you can imagine walks away on the pavement, the sound of spurs clinking with each step. We move to see the face of a young blonde woman laying dead in a pool of her own blood. As Eliza is knelt beside the woman, stroking her hair, we hear a voice say, "This isn't yours to see." Eliza says, "We both experienced this, Brandon. We both carry the weight of it. But just remember who stayed and who left." And with a scream, Eliza is thrown from the dream, sitting up into her bed in a startled panic, sweat dabbing her forehead, tears clung to her eyes. And that's where our story comes to a close. Thank you so much to these amazing players. Thank you to all of you watching at home. Go follow St. Pete by Night on all of that social media you see down below and sign up for the Ko-fi, where you can become a member for as low as $5 a month and exclusively see all of the content that happens behind the scenes of all of our shows, including Hellhounds, which has a new episode this Friday, Red Tide Rising, which has a new episode this Sunday, and of course, Rage Across Tampa, which you've just seen, but we'll be back next week. For these amazing players, I'm Kent. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.
So how with the path, let the night be our guide. In battles of honor, we shall never hide.
This has been a St. Petersburg by Night production, produced in agreement with the World of Darkness and Dark Pack. Visit our website at stpetebynight.com for more information about all of our productions and how you can become part of our community. Thank you for listening, and until next time, fangs, stakes, and claws out.